Anybody home?
What kind of party is this, anyway?
A very strange party, if you'll pardon the expression.
Radio General Urko.
Yes, sir, but that's not what's so peculiar.
Put it on the bridge speakers, Lieutenant. Pay more attention.
DJ
7L.
I thought it might be static, but not on every channel. Tend to sound like...
Holy Mountain Printing Podcast.
We don't take orders from super fools. We give them.
The Science Ninja Team is here.
I swear they landed right there on the other side of the hill.
Hear me and hear me.
Welcome to the Holy Mountain Printing Podcast.
Okay, we're here with our longtime friend Matt Kerley. He's done some illustrations for shirt designs here. He worked on the Zao project when we helped them release the Well-Intentioned Virus on vinyl and CD through here. He's a local artist and tattoo artist, co-owner of Old Ghost Tattoos here in town. Longtime awesome friend. And if you've watched these before, we have people on whose art we love and respect come on, and we go comic shopping and we talk about what we found. But I wanted to start with just asking some general questions on your background in art. So when was the first time you realized art was something you were interested in, something you wanted to pursue?
Probably when I was little, and my brother was sick growing up, so we were in and out of hospitals, so it was just a way for me to kind of stay quiet in the corner and draw. So I just drew like monsters and stuff, and like hours and hours of waiting room drawing and just killing time and trying to be good while a bunch of terrible stuff was going on.
Right.
Same with comics too. That's why I got into comics, because it was just something to read like while we were in the hospital waiting for years, you know.
And that was over the course of years?
Yeah, because he passed away when I was 8 and he was 10.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, because he was born with, like, it's some long medical term, and I don't know what it is. My mom tells me all the time, and I can't seem to remember it, but it's something to do with, like, his kidneys didn't develop or something, and went to specialists. That's why we moved around when we were kids, too, because we were, like, going from, like, Mount Airy to Winston to Asheville to Black Mountain to Swannanoa to wherever for different specialists and stuff like that.
Jesus.
Yeah, so we moved, like, every year. I think that's why I moved now as an adult, is, like, I'm just used to going somewhere every 12 months.
Right. Yeah, my dad moved us all the time too, so I actually completely get that.
Oh, really?
I didn't stop. We didn't settle until I was in high school. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah, he like every year to like shuffled us somewhere else for some new adventurous job that he was taking.
Oh, okay.
Well, what were the subjects you were drawing at that time? What were the things that grabbed your attention, made you want to do it?
A lot of wildlife stuff, a lot of like weird monsters. I got into like Godzilla, but I never saw any Godzilla stuff. I just like saw pictures of Godzilla stuff, probably in comics, you know, and just mimicked it. But a lot of like, my dad has a bunch of monsters that I drew in like comic strip form, like a lot of 4-panel stuff.
Yeah.
And then my aunt has, we call her my Aunt Nancy. She's not really my aunt. Some person in my family has a bunch of like giraffes and wolves and shit that I drew with like 3 legs. I couldn't understand how like 1-point perspective worked, I guess.
Right.
So I was like, oh fuck it, this one's behind that leg, and now it's got 3 legs. But yeah, a lot of wildlife, a lot of monsters. Not a whole lot of hero stuff until later. And I drew like Spider-Man, Hulk, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I got into Hulk pretty early on.
And so obviously Hulk and Spider-Man there. What were the comics that first got you into like?
It's actually the cards. Because my dad was into like collecting baseball cards and stuff. And I remember when we lived in Asheville for a while, there was this place called the Dugout. It was like a comic and hobby store, like down at the end of our, like near our neighborhood. And we would go in there, and he would go buy cards and stuff. And I remember they had like that 91 Marvel set. Do you remember that comic set? It's actually pretty sick. It's like Art Adams and
oh wow, okay,
and like really high hitters like Joe Kubert and stuff like that. And then like I remember like I think it's like the first card or second card is Hulk, and he's like ripping a fucking tank in half. And I'm pretty sure Art Adams drew it.
Wow.
I'm like 95% sure Art Adams.
That's awesome.
But it's like he's like all square and boxy and stuff, and I was like, I gotta get that. And I remember like mowing lawns and shit, save like probably $20, you know, get the whole set and like sleeves and everything. And I just went through each one of them, drew them, or tried to draw them.
Right.
But I remember drawing that Hulk like 1,000 times probably, just in the same piece of paper, just over and over again, you know.
Just redrawing.
And there's a lot of John Romita Jr. too, and John Romita. I don't know which ones they did though.
That's like 3 of my favorites back to back. Like I love all of them.
Yeah, that that set's gone up, worth a lot of money now.
Is it?
It's super weird.
Do you still have the one you had as a kid?
No, I don't have any of that shit.
Yeah.
That stuff's all gone. My mom got rid of that when I went to college, like the day I went to college.
Right.
Dropped me off and then threw that shit away.
Yeah, not a lot of things survived my childhood up till now either. There's like things I remember vividly, but I don't. I really only have 2 important like toys from my youth.
Yeah.
and they look like they've been exploded, but I have them.
There's also a mug that I recently rebought from that. I think you've been there. That place in Chicago, Toy du Jour.
Oh yeah.
It was a Hulk mug, and he's doing the same thing. He's just like throwing a rock at a fucking tank, and it like wraps around the whole mug.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he posted it with the box and everything, and I was like, can you ship that to me? Like I'll pay whatever it takes.
Right.
You know? And it was like $18.
Yeah.
Like, not a big deal. But I still drink out of like every day. Like I drew this mug 1,000 times too.
Right.
It's just like fucking shit up. You know.
That's awesome. That toy store is great.
Dude, it's really good. That guy's super nice too.
Yeah. Joel and I went in there and we made a little video interview with him. And he was
really?
just like the fucking coolest.
Yeah, he's super nice guy. I bought a bunch of like ET bootlegs and stuff from him last time I was in town.
He was selling these like toys that some local guy made called Galaxor, and they were like super cool. Joel and I actually each bought a Galaxor.
Was it like a vinyl or like
yeah, it was like a little soft vinyl figure that this guy made, and they had each one came with like a alternate head, and they were like, they were awesome.
That's cool.
And it was just like some local dude, and he was selling his stuff in there. But I don't remember what else we got from there. I remember that guy was heavily like 80s toys.
Yeah.
Like, and I remember we both bought a lot of stuff there. But the only thing that sticks out was that Galaxor, because it was like completely unique and cool. Like like totally like bagged with the top card, like
that's awesome.
Like a Godzilla toy. Yeah,
it's great. That stuff's impressive, and the stuff with like the header cards and then like the vacuum form molding bubbles and stuff like that. People are doing pretty insane shit with custom toys.
There's a lot of fucking cool custom toys right now for sure. So I guess obviously there's a point in your life where you realize art's something you want to do professionally. Like, so how did you realize that, and how did you decide what direction to go?
It was really hard. I mean, I'm still figuring it out, I think. But when I was in high school, I got really more into comics. My uncle was into comics, and so we would just like trade comics, talk comics all the time. And then I applied to the Joe Kubert School. It had been like my junior year, because I was like had a bunch of life drawings and stuff I was doing, and like just drawing hands all the time and feet, just doing studies. And so I applied to Joe Kubert School in New Jersey and got in, and then panicked the summer before I was supposed to leave, and was like, I want to be a fine artist, and then went to ECU for painting. And then in school I studied painting and then sculpture, and then I finished up with a double BFA in painting and sculpture. So like I completely didn't do comics at all from like that summer to probably 2005 or 2006, probably 2005. That's when I was still like in school, but I got, I was already working and stuff.
Right.
But I was going to go to school for comics and then bailed on it.
That's crazy.
Last second.
Yeah, it's just like a fucking crazy alternate timeline. But it would be so interesting to see what would your trajectory have been if you went there. But
yeah, I think about it all the time. I always think if I might have been a tattooer still, because Eric Talbot is a tattooer.
Right.
Now, and he worked for Ninja Turtles and Mirage for fucking, at least 10, 15, he probably still does, I guess. He probably still draws some stuff for him.
Yeah, that's Joe Kubert School is like, I had mentioned to you before, like we interviewed Mike Chen, who was a student there, and then he went on to work for Comico and DC and Marvel and a bunch of other companies, and then now he's an instructor there. But we interviewed him for the first issue of our magazine, and it was just like so cool to see this dude like went to school there, then went off and had his career, and then came back and became an instructor there.
Yeah.
And then
it was just like Steve Bissett. He went to school there, and then now he taught for the last 15 years at the College of Cartoon Studies in Vermont.
Oh, that's all I knew.
But he just retired, and which is good because now he's gonna do Tyrant. Have you read Tyrant? It's sick. It's like right now it's only 3 issues. It's supposed to be 5 or 6.
Yeah.
But it's like each issue is like a state of life for a Tyrannosaurus Rex called Tyrant, and so it like starts like in utero and then until he dies, but he's only got issue 3 because it's so labor intensive, and then he had like
holy shit,
a bunch of work. It's fucking, and it's like 100% factual paleontology study. Like he like met like scientist everywhere, like studied stuff for fucking years, and then made this book because he was wanting to sell it in the Smithsonian and stuff, like have like a comic in actual museums, like history museums. And so like everything is like exactly how it is in books, and he's really knowledgeable about all that stuff.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
But he was doing that like, I think during the same thing, Swamp Thing. I think it's around the same time frame, maybe like after Swamp Thing,
right?
Like that run with Alan Moore. But yeah, it's really good.
So as far as like what were the comics that got you into comics, and then what are the comics that keep you into comics now?
I think it was probably Marvel and stuff, because I didn't really. Well, no, actually, I remember only comics I remember as a kid were like all like Venom and stuff, like the kind of gnarlier stuff. I was like, even as a kid, I was like into gnarlier stuff. But,
Yeah.
like, you're only allowed so much to see when you're like a little kid, so
Right.
it wasn't like Gilbert Hernandez and stuff. Like it wasn't the West Coast. It was like a small town in North Carolina. So we got like Carnage and Marvel and Venom and stuff like that, and then. My uncle got a bunch of. You ever read that Scud Disposable Assassin books? It's that dude. I can't remember. He writes for like Adult Swim now, and I'm blanking on his name but he wrote and drew this book called Scud Disposable Assassin. And the whole thing is like there's vending machines of these robots that you kill people. So you like put in 25 cents and you like type in like who you want to kill, and the whole thing kills people. But then they explode when they murder them. And so this one is like has a self-reliance, and he's like, as soon as I kill that person, I'm gonna die. So he doesn't want to die, so he just like tries to not kill the target and stuff, tries to save him and shit.
Oh my god.
It's really funny and really good, but like reading it now, it's not that great. Like I bought the compendium just so I could remember what it was like, and it's not that good. But that was like probably the first like indie comic that I read as a kid. Because I remember Zach had a bunch of them, and then we just like traded. I kept trading a bunch of stuff until I could get like a couple of them, and I would study that character a bunch and draw it. But then it got into more indie stuff, because in Greenville when I went to college, there's a place called Nostalgic Newsstand. I think I was telling you about it.
You were, yeah.
Place that has like all the 90s shit from Fantagraphics. So I bought a bunch of like the weirdest stuff I could find that guy had. So I got like Chris Ware and Al Columbia stuff like in college, and then kind of got rid of it when I moved a bunch of times. But
yeah, I want to go there at some point.
it's really cool. I mean, if it's still the way it was last time I was there, that was like 4 or 5 years ago.
Hopefully it is.
Yeah, I doubt. I mean, it's been untouched since '98,
Right.
so I doubt he's gonna clean it up. You know.
Right. So, obviously you went to school, and somewhere along the way you ended up being a tattoo artist.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how did you end up getting into being a tattoo artist? Like, did you have an interest in that previously, or
Kinda, yeah. Like my granddad had a couple tattoos, and he had like a battleship. You know, like Popeye has like the battleship on his chest. He had one on his back, kinda. Like it was all fucked up. But then he had a sparrow on his arm. I didn't even know he had until I was at one of our family members' funeral, and he was like, I was already tattooing at this point. This is like, years in the future. And he was like, how much would you charge for this? And I was like, a lot more than you paid for it, I'm sure. And it was like all blue and shit.
Yeah.
But as growing up, I remember seeing that thing. So I'd always draw like skulls on my arm and stuff, made my mom mad. So like going into college, in art school, I was like, I would like to do tattooing, I think, And then I kind of put it to the side because I wanted to be a painter and then a sculptor. But in school, I had a professor named Bill Dermody, who I think was my design class like instructor and maybe illustration instructor. I can't remember. I had him for 2 classes, but he was learning to tattoo, and he was like 9 feet tall, heavily tattooed, like full bodysuit of tribal, like looks fucking intense, but is a super sweet dude when you talk to him. And he ended up doing a bunch of my tattoos, like the first like probably 20 or so tattoos while I was in school. And because he was learning to tattoo, and I was like in his class, I like trusted him, liked him a lot. He was a super nice guy. So I just felt comfortable with him. And then I ended up I would sneak into Richmond Tattoo Convention because I didn't have any money because I was in fucking art school, and I didn't have any money to even get tattooed. But I definitely couldn't pay $20 to get tattooed. And so I would just sneak in, and I remember like Bill would let me hold his massage table, and I would just hold it in front of my face and just like run in with it, acting like I was like working there. And they never fucking busted me. And the dude, Billy Easton, is a fucking bruiser. He's dead now, but if I said this now, he would probably try to beat me up. But he used to be like a super gnarly guy. He wore like the flame like Guy Fieri shirts and shit, and had like a bunch of young like attractive women on him that he paid. They're definitely escorts,
Yeah.
And I was like, that guy's gonna fucking murder me if he catches me in here. And I was like, every day I would just like try to like avoid him. I'd keep an eye on him all the time, and then I would just try to get tattooed by my face facing the opposite way. But anyways, so I at one of the conventions I inserted some flash that I had painted as a fake name. I have this like alias that I would use in art school named Scotty Muldoon, and I entered it as Scotty Muldoon, and I got second place. the first one I entered, which was funny because it was like this shitty owl, like super new school, kind of traditional stuff, and beat some like actual tattooers have been tattooing for a long time, and it was just this shitty flashy. But when we got back, Bill told Gary, the guy that owned the shop, he's like, "Oh, Matt entered this thing. I told him not to because Bill didn't want to get fucking ratted out. Like I told him not to do it, but he did it anyways, and he won second place. And then I remember Gary like looking at me like, this one?" And I was like, apparently, I don't know. And they had this like trophy and stuff. It was stupid, but like it made Gary be like, "Oh, this kid's a viable option. As soon as I need someone, I'll probably hit him up." And then he ended up firing, or someone quit pretty soon after that, like a few months. I don't remember who it was. I think it was this dude. I can't remember his name, but I remember he had a bunch of snakes tattooed on his head. Like he was like a snake guy.
Yeah.
And he would let snakes bite him all the time.
Oh my gosh.
I cannot remember his name. Caroline told me about him before. I never met him. He was like not at that shop when I was hanging out. And then one day I just was in there and he just asked me if I wanted to apprentice. And so I apprenticed like when I was getting out of school pretty much. And that way when I got out of school and graduated, I had a job pretty much waiting on me.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Also, you should do like split personality. You should have a whole side career as Scotty Muldoon.
Dude.
Like you should resurrect Scotty Muldoon.
I'd still sign Scotty's name on stuff. Like if it's like if I do a good deed, I feel like I give it to Scotty.
Scotty
like,
Muldoon?
Yeah, like I was in Philly one time and this dude left his lights on in his car and I just wrote a note. Like it's not gonna help him at all. I wrote a note like your lights were left on and I signed Scotty Muldoon and put in his wife.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sure he's like, well, that doesn't do me fucking any good.
Thanks, Scotty.
Yeah, my battery's dead.
Maybe you should have knocked on my door.
Yeah. I think Scotty Muldoon is like, I saw it on like one of those electoral signs somewhere, and I think it was Greensboro. I think he was like running for some sort of office in Greensboro, and I was like, that's the stupidest name ever.
It is.
And it's just been stuck in my brain. I just signed people's names to it.
What kind of, let's say your side personality, Scotty. What kind of guy is Scotty Muldoon?
I think he's a pretty jovial guy, kind of like a Chad.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, he's just
he's
like
a Chad.
Just having a good time, man.
Yeah.
I did think of like a different tattoo alias name called Poncho. My friend Eli and I thought of it, and it was like, because there's this whole like trend with tattooing where it's like all minimal black shading, like there's just like one machine does it and stuff. And so we had this idea that it's Poncho, and we could all be Poncho, and at different conventions, like all over the place, we just gotta wear like the same poncho.
Right.
And then if someone gets tattooed by the same person, they'd not have any kind of internet presence or anything other than like, I do these hipster tattoos, I'm Poncho. But like Eli's 10 feet taller than me, so it's like, well, you're very tall and you're very short, like how are you?
It would be
same
awesome
person?
though.
Yeah.
That would be great. Poncho's constantly evolving.
And he's like, do like, because there's so many conventions now, you could do 5 conventions with 5 different ponchos across the country, you know, and then like everyone's doing the same exact 4 tattoos.
Right. Yeah, you guys only do the same 4. That's amazing.
Yeah, the same machine and everything. Yeah. Be like, wow, you look fucking weird. Like, I don't know, man.
Poncho, you seem so much taller than when you tattooed me in Arizona.
It'd have someone be like really mean and someone be really nice. Like, you're a lot nicer last time. Like, fuck off. Like, fucking Poncho.
That's so weirdly similar. Me and my friend Chuck wanted to bootleg these records, which I'm not going to name what they are to fuck us, but we bootlegged these records and we were like, well, what do we call it? Like, you know, we can't do it officially. Like, so we made up a fake company called the Cheddar Brothers.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. And then we like started building the persona. We were like, who are the Cheddar Brothers? And our Cheddar Brothers actually sounds a lot like Poncho. Like, because we were like, yeah, we'll wear ponchos and we'll wear these big hats that like disguise us, and we'll start showing up at conventions with our bootleg, you know, movie soundtracks. So yeah, that was we had kind of the similar idea. We were going to be the poncho of movie soundtracks.
Ponchos are like the key anonymity to people. You can't see what's under there. It's like a Grim Reaper cloak.
Yeah, just a giant poncho, and then I think that's you need a giant sombrero.
Yeah, I think Eli talked about that, and I was like, man, if you had that, that's like too much going on. We need to just wear ponchos.
That would be the ultimate hide, though. Like no one, other than that, poncho is suddenly like 6'7" instead of 5'4".
Yeah, and like super sweaty because ponchos are fucking hot.
Yeah. Holy shit! All right, so now you have Old Ghost Tattoo here in town. How long's that been open, and how did that come about? Because you're co-owner.
Yeah, we're coming up on a year now. I'm really bad with months, especially with COVID. I feel like everything is just fizzled into a Prince timeline where there is no time frame. But I think it's coming up on a year. Cause I just know that because I had to get my permit redone, and we got it like right after I got my permit last time. So yeah, it was Authentic Tattoo before. And then because of COVID, Matt ended up quitting and leaving and going somewhere. And then we kind of just picked it up where it was and rebuilt everything on the inside of it. and it's been really good. I mean, it's just Dean and I. We had another lady there named Chris. She was there for a while, and she left not too long ago to start her own place. But yeah, it's just Dean and I, and it goes really smoothly. I mean,
yeah,
we're super busy, and that's all we can really try to do.
Right. It's a beautiful shop. Like,
yeah, you got
like
tattooed.
I got tattooed in there, and yeah, it's fucking. The first thing I said when I came in was, "Wow, this looks fucking great." Like,
yeah, I mean,
and then you told me what a piece of shit it was before you guys started.
Such a fucking turd, man. It was such, and it's weird too, because like before working there, I was in San Diego at Big Trouble Tattoo, and that's like one of my favorite shops I've ever even been a part of. Everyone there is super nice. The shop is beautiful. It just sucks that it's in fucking San Diego. That place is the worst. Like, I hate San Diego. But that shop was great. So it was like going from that beautiful shop where everyone got along, and then going to Authentic where everyone's shitty, and then this like fucking shotgun tormented building. You know, like fuck, what did I do? You know, like this sucks.
So were you there for some of it being Authentic, and then you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think. Again, I'm really bad with timelines. I think it was almost 2 years. It's probably like a year and a half. I think that we moved back, and then like COVID hit for however long, because we were out of work for 2.5 months, I think. Yeah, I think it was a year and a half, I think. And then a few months after that, when we were able to start tattooing again, we got it.
Yeah, just you and Dean.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, that place is amazing. Well, I guess from here, let's get into the comics and what we went. Okay. So, again, we went to Foundation's Edge here in Raleigh. Anyone listening who hasn't been there needs to go there. If you're local, it's the fucking greatest place in the world. If you're not local, it is absolutely worth traveling for. It's when you get up into the back issue room, it is an archaeological dig, which is what I've said every time that we bring it up. But that's what it is. It's fucking crazy. There's mountains of comics everywhere. But so you and I went in there, and we each pulled books. And so what's the first thing you grabbed?
The first thing I got was, I think this is Joe Vigil. Not Tim Vigil, but Tim Vigil did the cover. But there's a gatefold. This is one I've always wanted to read because of Tim Vigil, and I'm a big fan of like underground illustrators and comics and stuff. So he did a book for a long time called Faust, and Faust is really gnarly. And this is one that Joe Vigil did, and they do a lot of stuff together where like Joe will illustrate it and then Tim will ink it, or vice versa, or they'll do the collabo stuff. So I think this is actually a collabo, because this looks like Tim Vigil's work to me, but this looks like Joe Vigil to me. So they probably did like 11 by 17 and just split up the effort, because I don't think Tim Vigil does a lot of like speckling dot work type stuff. But this whole thing is just like story of a gunfighter from hell who like goes into hell and tries to fight these demons and stuff, and it's like super gory, so it's like very adult themed. The cover says "Not for Youngins" on it.
Not for youngins. That's awesome.
I think the first couple pages has Hitler in it, painting on human skin. That's a lizard guy I was talking about.
Holy shit!
But like even that, like with the beads of blood coming out of the wound, like I mean, it's very graphic.
Yeah, this looks awesome.
Yeah, it's really good. Like over rendered almost to a point of being confusing. But then this is like, I mean, the line weights are all there, so you can definitely tell what's going on. But even like that, like he shaded every fucking pebble in this
every
thing.
Little pebble in that like giant sea of rocks.
That would take like 8 hours to shade that one rock thing. But yeah, it's really good. I think there's 6 issues or something. But yeah, that was the first pick for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, that looks great. And I always like talking about comics with you, because I'm kind of a dum-dum who just reads superhero books. And every time we talk about comics, I'm like, you tell me about all these things you're reading that are so far off my radar, and then I want to read them. So
it's the same thing though. I mean, like, you know more about like Marvel stuff that I don't know about, that I know I would like. I just like, I'm too like involved with like trying to find like a fucking obscure comic that got 15
but that's great. That works. I don't know, I guess maybe that works good for both of us. But because we had coffee that one day, and I'm making a mental list. I'm like, I want to read all that shit. So all right, well, the first one I have is the Creech, which we both agreed was a terrible name.
Yeah, the Screech.
The Screech. And interestingly enough, reading the little thing in the back that Greg wrote about it, the whole thing was built around how great he thought that name was. And it's truly an abysmal name and a terrible logo. Also, this looks like the shittiest logo for the shittiest local metalcore band. But now that I've gotten done with saying all these bad things, it's fucking beautiful. And I love Greg Capullo's work. Even if I did just take a shit on the name of this comic and the logo, but I did not take a shit on the artwork. The artwork in this book is fucking phenomenal. And, the creature in question here, the Creech is a fucking monster made of hundreds of aborted fetuses, which is also a fucking gnarly as fuck concept. So, and there you go. This thing is crazy looking. So I had never read this, but, when we were in Foundation's Edge, I wanted to pick things that were a little off the beaten path for me. And this wasn't that far off because he's done Batman stuff I loved, and Batman definitely qualifies under Danny's love for idiotic mainstream superheroes.
There's some dark Batman stuff.
Yeah, there is definitely some dark Batman stuff.
Tim Mitchell did a Batman comic. He didn't finish it, but it's fucking gnarly.
Was it released? Or
no, he just
that was the one you were telling me about.
Yeah, I think it was like a treatment that he was trying to sell at DC, and they just looked at him like, nope, this is too far.
But crappy logo, crappy name, incredible book. I'm super excited to read all these, but
it kind of reminds me of like Pit and stuff like that.
It does, and I guess they did a toy.
Oh, really?
They did a toy and released it through the Spawn line of toys. So he did, which I'm going to look for now, because the creature is again like absolutely fucking incredible looking.
And Farley made so many, or is still making so many toys.
Yeah,
like I made like every Batman toy.
I only realized that when I I kind of Googled this to find out, but I mean this is another little gnarly fucking thing this decomposing fucking skeletal head over here is worth buying these comics for all by its lonesome.
It kind of looks like how I wished Spawn was. Like Spawn seems like it would be gnarly, but then you read it, you're like, this is fucking tame.
Right.
Nothing happening. He's just in an alleyway for a long time.
Well, now that I know that toy exists, that's up on the list of things I want to find.
Yeah, I just want to see how cool it is.
I
wonder if it's like one of those big, like mega.
Yeah, I don't know.
Farland
I didn't look up to see what it looked like, so I need to do that and try and track one down.
What's the year on that one? Is it like?
This was
early 2000s.
Let me see. It is. It's
like
printed in Canada, Jonathan Kachuba. If you're listening, that's all I got for you right this second. 97.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
he probably wasn't making it at the same time he was doing actual Spawn figures and stuff.
Yeah. All right. So what do you got?
Second one I picked up, I was looking for a Simon Bisley Lobo, and I got this instead. But it's really good. Lobo Chained, from Raphael Garris, I'm gonna say. I don't know. I heard about him through like Wizard Magazine back in the day. He used to do like the wizard art things you'd send in and get printed, and he got a bunch of like Lobo stuff printed. But it kind of just looks like Frazetta E Bisley type stuff. Also very gnarly, super bloody. Really cool fabrics, and there's one part where he rips a dude's arm off. But yeah, he goes.
I think that's close to the back.
Yeah, that's the guy who fights. Also has a DC tattoo. You should get one of those. But there's Scud. Disposable assassin.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, big old ad. But yeah, he goes to jail to fight this guy and ends up killing. The whole thing is just based on a bet, and he rips this guy's arm off. So yeah, just a DC gore. It's probably the most gore they can have in a DC comic. It's a Lobo comic, I guess.
Yeah, this one we were looking at what each other picked at the store, I was immediately, the cover is incredible.
Yeah, it's really
definitely good. Is one I want to read now.
I found his Instagram, and he's got a bunch of really good. I don't know what he's working on now, but it was a bunch of commissions of Ninja Turtles.
Oh wow!
And then they look like body count kind of, but like more Eastman and Laird, like more traditional Turtles from the 80s, but definitely with a Bisley touch to it. It's not like, because like Bisley went real far with like the anatomy and everything,
right?
But he kept it pretty dialed down with Eastman and Laird.
And that's just a one issue thing, right? Is that a standalone
just
book?
a one shot.
Yeah,
which I think is why I like Lobo so much, because it's just a lot of times they're just specials and stuff.
Yeah,
just 30-page little stories of him getting arrested and killing everybody. It's pretty sick.
Awesome. All right, my second pick is, let's see if I can slide these in there. I have the collected, editions of this, but I figured I'd start pulling the individual issues. But it's Godzilla Half Century War by James Stoko, and it says on the collected edition, like on the outside, it says James Stoko was born to draw Godzilla, and it's true. Like, this is as cool as Godzilla is ever going to look in a fucking comic. And there's a lot of great people that have drawn Godzilla, but I mean, this shit is extra gnarly. And let's see, get to a really good.
Did he do other Godzilla books? No, he did Alien Dead Orbit, which is also fucking amazing. That is good.
That's a really fucking good one. Right now he's doing Orphan and the Five Beasts, which is also really good, and I think it's coming up on its last issue.
Okay.
It was like, I think it was only 4 issues, if I understand correctly. It's fucking fantastic. It's just like a violent kung fu comic.
Oh, okay.
Like, really fucking great. And he did Orc Stain. That's like an older book that he did, but he's just like, just the way he draws stuff is so like, I mean, look at that smog monster right there. I'm trying to get it where the light's not killing it, but yeah, his work's fucking incredible, and this is as good as. He also did the opening part of Godzilla in Hell. Did you read that?
I haven't read that.
Dude, you should read that. So that is legitimately exactly what it sounds like. It is Godzilla making his way through hell.
Okay.
So he's just like layer by layer making his way through hell, and different artists took each section.
Oh, that's cool.
And there's a collected edition of that, and it's just fucking fantastic. Like,
I've seen it before. I've just never picked it up.
He does the opening story, and then it, like I said, it goes artist by artist through.
That's awesome.
But yeah, anyway, this is my second pick, and if you've never read this, you absolutely should. It's fucking crazy. But it follows basically a guy who has joined like the people that are like tracking and trying to deal with the kaiju and with the first appearance of Godzilla. So it starts with him, I believe, during Vietnam, and it follows him all the way to an old man, like cool. Still like just trying to rein in, and as the story evolves, all the other kaiju start showing up, and then you just get like madness.
How many? You said it's like just a mini series, right?
Yeah, I think total this was like 5 issues, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. It was, and you can get like the collected edition of it. Now they have a beautiful like hardbound edition of it, but I actually upgraded my soft one. I gave away my soft one to a friend and got the hardbound one because it had like notes in the back from James and sketches and all kinds of cool shit. Yeah, you just have to have.
Re-release where they add a bunch of cool shit into it. You have to rebuy it.
Makes you want to buy it for the 3rd time or whatever the fuck it ends up being.
I've gotten so many times with it. The next one I got is nowhere close to that, and it's Herbie by Ogden Whitney. And don't let the cover fool you, it's fucking cool. It's like this chubby kid called the Fat Fury. Is a superhero alias, and he has these popsicles that make him do stuff. Like, that's his weapon, and he's a time traveler as well. But Ogden Whitney is just like, honestly one of the best illustrators, I think. Like, one of the last like real draftsmen, especially the 50s. I mean, it's all this stuff probably took him an hour to do, and just something would be very labor intensive, but it's also just really funny, and I feel like something that could have been in a Sunday strip but never was like segmented like that.
Yeah.
But each issue is about 3 stories, and I feel like they even like kind of reuse the same story several times. There's a lot of them about his dad and going back in time to get his dad like a wife, like Cleopatra and stuff.
Right.
But yeah, usually he just goes back in time, so there's like a weird like abstracted history lesson in each issue, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, I don't think the cover should be fooling anyone. The cover looks awesome. Herbie looks like a good read.
I don't know, man. I bought a bunch of these at I had a dollar sale one time, and my uncle was like, "What the fuck are those?" I was like, "I don't know, man. These look weird." And I got them home, and I was just like immediately super pumped on everything about it.
The interior is definitely way cooler than the cover, but the cover is funny. Like when you picked it, I didn't think it was, I didn't immediately. What the fuck is that? Like,
yeah, they only had this one. This is like one of the original, not first printings, but like one of the earlier printings. And they've reprinted a bunch of them with John Byrne doing, I don't know if they're like retelling the like stories, like anecdotal stories or anything, but it's like John Byrne's involved, and only half of them are Ogden Whitney. And I just don't think I think Ogden Whitney is a better illustrator. So
when were these actually released? Like the Ogden Whitney stuff?
I think like 53. This might say, but I mean these are reprinted, so this one's printed in like 80 Yeah, this is printed in 1990, but I think Ogden Whitney was around in the 50s.
Herbie looks amazing. That opening page where he's up in the top corner, just like this.
Oh, that thing? Yeah, where he like narrates everything.
Right. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah. And just like, I mean, that alone.
Right. That they built
fucking-
him out of the R is incredible. That's genius as fuck.
I mean, on this one cover, he's on it 3 times.
Yeah.
You can't beat that.
So there you have Herbie.
Highly recommend.
Herbie, and Herbie. Yeah.
I've tried to explain that plot to so many people, and every time they're like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "Give it a chance, man."
The sucker part is amazing.
Yeah,
that
it
he's
makes
got
total
lollipops.
and he's just like lazy, but he'll do crazy shit. Like like half the time, like his dad walks in, he's just like asleep in a hammock in the backyard, and he's like, "Get up, you fat piece of shit," or whatever. And then he like gets up and he like eats a popsicle, time travels to whatever BC and shit.
Well, I saw it when you were just flipping through it. Because when you told me about this, and then I actually saw the panel, it was fucking hilarious.
Oh, with the
popsicles, where I was like, there it is.
Yeah.
Right here. These are the fucking popsicles in question.
And there's 3
or
different
lollipops, not popsicles.
lollipops.
Sorry,
yeah, lollipops. Because he calls them bopsicles or
bopsicles. Right. I knew there was a reason that my brain just said popsicles.
But. Yeah, but there's like 3 different stories where like the plot is that he needs to get $50,000 or $10,000 or $100,000 to buy a lollipop factory so he can have unlimited lollipops.
Right.
And that's like the premise. And then so he like does all this shit and like he goes back in time to get this money to do these things and he gets it and then like something happens where his dad needs that exact amount of $50,000 or whatever for whatever stupid reason. So like just to make his dad happy, he gives him all the money.
Gives him the money and then is back on the quest for the unlimited pops or lollipops.
It's literally perfect.
Yeah. No, this sounds fucking amazing.
Yeah, I love that book.
All right, Herbie. So my next pick was these Spider-Man: The Lost Years, and this was I tried when I was out with you picking things a little more outside of my comfort zone, but this was very much in my comfort zone, and I hadn't read it, which I thought was strange, because right on the cover it's J.M. DeMatteis, Romita Jr. and Klaus Janson on this thing, and that's like 3 of my fucking favorites. DeMatteis with Craven's Last Hunt and my favorite Doctor Strange story, Shambhala, and Romita Jr. with Warzone, the first 10 issues of Punisher Warzone, I think. I can't remember how many. I mean, just like the greatest shit in the entire world. And of course, Man Without Fear. And speaking of Daredevil, Klaus Janson. This is just like, when I saw it, I was like, how the fuck have I not read this? Like, it's got like 3 of my favorites on it. And they've got these weird, kind of metallic covers.
I missed that.
Yeah.
Honestly.
These are like super, each one is really cool looking. And I was super excited to read these. I never read it, and I guess there's an issue 0 I need to get. Like, I didn't realize that, and they didn't have it in there, so I'll have to track that down. But yeah, it's got like I said, 3 of my absolute favorites on one book, and the art's fantastic. I mean, of course, Romita Jr. Everyone is fucking a hulking, massive monster, which is
very stiff, like Kirby illustrations and stuff.
Yeah, I love the way he muscles on muscles on muscles. Yeah, like right off the top here, right in the first page. I mean, unbelievable. So, yeah, I mean, this is unreal right here. So, yeah, excited to read these. Can't believe I never read them. Doesn't make any fucking sense to me.
I definitely had those as a kid and never read them and just drew.
You just drew the stuff out of them and never read them? Yeah.
Mainly the covers. The covers are so good.
I mean, these are definitely, because when did these come out? This is 95. And in 95, I was definitely not reading comics and skateboarding.
Yeah.
So
I had my skateboarding stint lasted about a week and a half, and I hurt myself. Fuck this, books don't hurt me.
Yeah, mine lasted a touch longer. It was like, I don't know, 13 or so. I got my first board, and it was my later, I don't know, 24, 25 area where I started to slow down and then finally quit. Yeah. And then found my way back to comics. And I never didn't like them. I always liked comics. I just didn't have time for them.
It's hard to find time for It's hard to find time for like everything, you know.
Right. Well, and at that age too, you're all in. Like whatever the fuck
yeah.
you're into, you're all in.
Yeah.
And so I just didn't have. I liked them and thought they were cool, but wasn't there for them.
Only got into skateboards because of the graphics. I was like, oh, I mean, graphics are cool.
That's a good reason. And actually, when we interviewed Paul Pope because he was in the last issue of the magazine, he asked me why skateboarding has a place in our magazine. Because he understood everything like art and music and I was like, but like a lot of what I love about music and art came from Thrasher and came from skateboarding. Board graphics were important. The people illustrating those graphics were important.
Just the advertisements too.
The advertisements, like the level of clever in those ads was off the charts, and design and style, and also music. Like Thrasher did pieces on, like I am sure that's the first time I heard of Danzig and the Violent Femmes. So,
I remember hearing, was it Fear? Was in some old skate videos all the time. I was like, what is that song?
Yeah.
And I finally found out it was
skate
Fear.
videos too, not just Thrasher. Skate videos were a hotbed of finding new music, because they you got all these different writers, like their musical taste in there. So what's your next book?
Next one I picked up was, I heard about this recently because I'm a big Sam Keith fan, who did the Max most notably, but he did a Aliens book called Earth War. And I just wanted to check it out. And apparently it's like, it goes after like, I guess it's a epilogue or whatever from Aliens. Like it just kind of goes on from the movie Aliens.
Oh, okay.
About what happens to like Ripley and stuff. And I've only read this one issue, but I mainly just bought it for the Sam Keith art. So I just want to see how he would do Aliens. And then the first page, just the border is the Queen Alien, twice. That dude's just insane. But this stuff is like, I feel like it's like super dialed in, because Max, like the later issues of the Max, like I don't think he got lazy, because it doesn't look lazy. Like when Eric Larson's doing Savage Dragon, you're just like, oh, you're just barely drawing now.
Right.
Like he's still drawing a lot, but he's just like the process isn't there. Like he's not like going on the computer and fine lining things, or like making sure the levels are right. Like he literally just was like, this is fucking done, run it. It's just like, you can see the pencil drawings underneath everything. But this is, he's doing all the inks and everything. I don't think he did the color in it, but I mainly just want to see how he would do a xenomorph more or less. And just like his like heavy black shading, and it's all cross-hatched is awesome.
Yeah, this looks fucking amazing.
Yeah, he's really
I didn't
good.
know he did this. I love Sam Keith too. I think my particular place I love him is that Marvel Comics presents the Wolverine and Cyber story.
Oh,
which I guess the collected version of that is like Blood Hunger or Blood Hungry.
Is it?
I can't remember what. I gave it away. I actually got the collected one and gave it to my friend Chuck, and I kept all the Marvel Comics presents like individual issues. But
I just buy them when I find them like a quarter or whatever. But the cover's the best part.
Yeah, the way he drew in that is. And I kind of love the same thing. He's like an abstracted version of Romita Jr. with the muscles, because Romita Jr. everything is like, it's very clean and you can tell what it is, and it's abstracted just in like a hulking muscular way, whereas Keith draws these like, it's like the same idea. It's all these crazy muscles on muscles on muscles, but it's like also very abstracted and like kind of arty. Yeah.
And it's like, and it changes from panel to panel too, where like Wolverine, especially in the Marvel Comics presents, like he'll have like a belly one panel, and next panel he's just like normal.
Right.
Like,
I love the pot bellies he gives Wolverine in those issues. It's fucking.
I mean, it's pretty
incredible.
much just the Max, because you can even like hold. You ever read the Max, the Image comic?
See, and I never read the Max.
It's really good, but as a kid, I would look at it and be like, "Oh, this is awesome," but I would start reading it like, I have no clue what is happening in any section of this, because there's like alternate realities and there's like weird social things they talk about, and I was like, fucking 11, trying to grasp it,
Yeah.
But reading it now as an adult, like I totally get it, or somewhat, But
it's definitely on my list of shit I want to read as an adult, because I only was aware of the Marvel stuff he did. Like I even as a kid, I was just like reading mostly Marvel.
He even did a bunch of those cards I was talking about earlier.
Oh wow, okay.
The one, I don't know what year it is, but the whatever, like maybe 99, whatever series had like the space graphic in the background. I know he did Nightcrawler. 'Cause I remember like not even acknowledging it was the same person, but as a kid I was just like drawn to the way Nightcrawler was drawn on that card, and I would draw that a bunch of times, because even like he was like sitting on a weird tree that he would always draw.
Yeah,
with,
in
like,
Marvel Comics Presents, he did a Nightcrawler story also. Yeah.
He draws a really sick Nightcrawler. It's like the only character he draws like kind of skinny. Yeah. The rest are just kind of bulbous and weird.
His take on Nightcrawler is definitely fucking cool.
The way he did Cyber too, with like the long nails and like the chrome was really nice.
Yeah, that that book is the one that like where I was like, holy shit, this guy is amazing.
Yeah.
But, so the next one I brought is Dynamo Joe, and I brought the special. This is the special one-shot issue, and then the 3-issue limited series. But out of curiosity, trying to place this in my life because I had these as a kid. I guess it came out when I was 12 years old, and which makes perfect sense. It's a giant robot, and I was obsessed with giant robots at that point. Specifically, Robotech and Shogun Warriors were huge for me, and at the time this came out, I would have been buying Robotech comics and watching Robotech, and so it was a shoe-in giant robot. But yeah, like I mean this first panel, like with the drawing of Dynamo Joe, is so fucking cool. Like, and I think issue 1, yeah, this is the one that I like. Like the 2-page spread in space is just fucking outrageous. It's super goddamn cool. Joel, you can't see him off screen here. He shares my love for the giant robots and has expanded on it in areas that I have no interest in with Gundam. Everyone listening, I don't give a shit about Gundam other than that I think they look cool. But if you want to talk about old man shit like Robotech, Dynamo Joe, Transor Z, any of that shit, that's my wheelhouse. Which is why Joel and I can go comic and toy shopping together also, because we are looking for the same thing, but not the same thing. So we were like, him and I went to Kapow in Chicago, and I was like, this is amazing because we're both looking for giant robots, but different kinds of giant robots.
So there's not a lot of overlap?
Yeah, they're really a little bit, not a lot. Like it's works out awesome because we both look at each other's shit and are like, "Wow, that's so cool," but I don't want it.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want mine, and it's perfect. So he was like, whereas I go like record shopping with these two friends of mine, where we'll go on like record, and we like the same shit.
Yeah.
So it gets ugly, like where it gets like legitimately like there's been serious arguments and people mad at each other. But Joel and I, we could travel this world and have almost no overlap. So he's the ultimate toy and comic. Shopping partner for me.
That's always my uncle. My uncle and I go to buy comics together all the time, and he's always finding stuff where I'm finding stuff, and we immediately get mad at each other for what the other person found. And we were at this comic shop, or it's like an antique store, and we found. Do you know who Ken Landgraf is? He's this dude. He's still around. He's still crushing it. Really good illustrator, decent story writer. But he did this book in the '80s called New York City Outlaws, and it's just like a Warriors type of comic where there's like rival gangs and shit. And it's super hard to find. And I was at some place, and I heard about it, but it didn't like ring a bell when I saw it. It just like the cover looked cool.
Yeah.
And it was like number 4, and I was like, "Is this any good?" And Zach was like, "Put that down." And I was like, "Oh, is it not good?" And he was like, "I will fucking fight you for that or something." And I was like, "I mean, I'm just gonna buy it. It's $1." And he's like, he still brings it up if I ever want to get rid of it. Like apparently it's like one of the more harder. Because it's like when they go on, like I think it goes up to like 5 or 6, something like that. He was just self-printing it himself. And so they're really scarce and hard to find. So it's weird that it was in Burlington, North Carolina, at an antique mall.
Oh, at that little antique mall. Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So it was like $1, and I think it's like 100 and something on my comic shop,
Holy
or something
shit.
crazy like that. But yeah, we always try to find the same stuff. But he is like, I honestly think he's more knowledgeable about comics in general than I am, because he would know as much about Marvel and DC as he would about indie stuff, or like even Disney stuff and shit like that. Like he's like way more expansive than I am. I'm like too tunnel vision-y to gain too much information.
I never know, like there's a guy whose shop I go to, and he's always talking to me about like what books are up and coming and what things are going for, and I'm like, dude, I don't give a shit. I'm not gonna sell it. I'm buying it to read. I was like, he's the same thing with he talks to me about Condition, and I'm like, I'm gonna read this. Like I don't give a shit. Like like
CGC and shit. My friend Tom CGC's everything. I'm like, fuck that
shit.
It's like $50 to not read something.
To not read it. Yeah, now it's like encased in carbonite, and I can't fucking read it.
I can't even enjoy it. Just gonna nail it to a wall.
Right. I don't get it. Like toys are made to be played with. Comics are made to be fucking read.
Yeah. Have you ever read this, Shaolin Cowboy?
I haven't, and that's so I was looking at those at Sequoia's shop, and have always wanted to read it.
Have you looked at Jeff Darrow's stuff before?
Yeah.
Well, this one is my favorite because it's kind of like one long panel. So it starts with that, and then it's like each panel is almost like a second in a series. So you could almost make a flip book out of it, and he repeats the same backgrounds.
That's awesome.
But he like light boxes everything. Like nothing's computer generated, which would be way easier. But like he comes out, and then there's like just a bunch of people, and all of this could be one long. And I've seen this as one long panel poster because it doesn't even like it full bleeds to the side, but it's just like panel after panel of these figures.
Yeah. And
like each little person has like their own identity and like a bunch of things hanging off stuff, like a bunch of like keychain, key fob type of scenarios, like guns on top of like grenades and shit. And there's like a bunch of like punk people, but it just keeps going. I mean, like each one of these would take forever.
Yeah.
I don't know how big the actual image is or anything, but the storyline's really good. I mean, it's kind of like one of those non-definitive 80s type of movie things where it's just like I read an interview and he said he just like thought of the word Shaolin and then thought of cowboy, and he was like, Shaolin cowboy. Just make a fucking book out of it.
That is a much better I came up with the name first story than the Creech.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because that sounds Shaolin cowboy. I want to read that. The Creech. I don't know about that.
Aborted fetuses monster.
Then I do want to read it. Once you're like,
once you're
hundreds of aborted fetuses made into a monster. Yeah, I want to read that.
But he's really good. He was friends with Mobius, who I'm also a big fan of. They like lived together in France for a while and made a bunch of work together. Not a bunch of work. I think they did one called something of Fire, like Angel of Fire or something. They did that book together.
Yeah.
I think Mobius would pencil it and he would ink it. But they also were friends with like Otomo, who did Akira. So they were like, as a triangle, they would like talk about stuff and storylines and shit. It's pretty interesting. But you can definitely see the influence of Mobius and Otomo on Jeff Darrow.
Did you ever read the Silver Surfer story that Mobius drew?
Yeah.
That shit is woo.
Dude,
that reminded me of it as soon as we were looking in there. The art style like definitely is similar.
That guy, Jason, that owns Cerebral Vortex in Richmond, have you been there yet? That comic shop?
No.
It's in that old bombed out mall. So sick. He's got like old comic shop promo stuff, and he's got a bunch of Mobius posters of Silver Surfer and that Wolverine Mobius where he's like on that weird pillar for some reason.
Yeah.
He's got a bunch of that shit.
I was in a shop recently that had those. They had them framed up on the back wall, but it was in Greensboro.
Was that Acme or?
Wasn't Acme, because I'd remember that. Yeah. I think it was in Sailfish in the Greensboro.
I could see that.
Which overall was a pretty meh comic shop. But
say that.
But yeah, that was super cool.
Yeah, those are. Is there a storyline that goes with that Wolverine Mobius?
I don't know.
I just remember that image.
I just remember the image too, and I've seen the poster, but I don't know. Not that I know of, but I'm probably wrong.
Yeah, I've never seen a book of it.
Yeah.
But the Silver Surfer is really good.
Yeah, I absolutely love that book. They did a nice, like, I don't know, maybe a year or two ago, they did a giant hardbound edition too.
Oh, really? Like an arts edition kind of thing?
Sick. So I did the same thing where I like upgraded and gave the other one away.
That's a good one.
And I actually still have the individual issues of that too, the 2 issues of the actual like printed comic.
That's awesome. I'd like to get those. I actually like Silver Surfer a lot. I actually just bought, like, I think one of my first comics ever was Silver Surfer 55 or 56. It's the one where Thanos is holding him by the back of the neck. I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And like everyone fucking dies. It's like where Thanos kills everybody, and there's one splash page where like Wolverine's hands, like he's dead, and his hands like in a wall. And then Captain America, you see his body in the background, in the foreground, his severed head, but there's no blood. It's just like you got to think about it. And I remember like looking at a bunch and drawing them, and I was with my uncle Zach and my grandma in Black Mountain drawing all this stuff. And my grandma was like, "Why you draw all these dead people?" I'm like, "They're not dead." And Zach explained to me like,
"These are dead people.
He's fucking dead. Like his head is over here, his body's like, oh, yeah." Okay. And it was like my first like, I do like this like gnarly stuff.
So speaking of Silver Surfer, because I didn't know you liked Silver Surfer, did you read that recent Silver Surfer Black?
Yeah,
that was fucking.
It was really
great.
good. Yeah,
like I really like Tradmore's art too. Like from that point on, I was like, well, I want to read whatever. Like
I don't know what else he's done though.
He did a Ghost Rider.
Oh,
that's actually really cool. But it's Ghost Rider.
Is it space?
No, that's that.
Is that any good?
That Cosmic Ghost Rider stuff's good. And Malcolm, my son, loved the. I guess it's what is it? It's the Cosmic Ghost Rider storyline where he's I don't know. I don't know if I didn't read it. Malcolm loved it, but I guess the premise is he's trying to kill baby Thanos, or I don't know what's going on in it. So I didn't.
That's good enough for me.
I actually asked him the other day. I was like, "Where is that?" Because I want to read it. And he was like, "Yeah, you should have read that by now." Like,
got shamed.
Yeah, I got shamed by my kid, who also probably broke my ribs the other day. So
he's getting too big.
Yeah, he's getting too big. But Yeah, Tradmore did a Ghost Rider, and it's not the motorcycle, and it's not Johnny Blaze. It's as a car. I was actually warned not to read it because it wasn't that cool, but then I thought it was fucking cool. So
that sounds cool.
Yeah, it was great. And what is it? The Sequoia just recently pointed out the Luther Strode comic he did before any of this stuff, and I grabbed it. I haven't read it yet, but it looks fucking phenomenal.
Is that also Marvel?
No, I don't remember who did the Luther Strode book.
Yeah,
it was definitely an indie, but it looked like, as soon as I started leafing through the art, I was like, all right, I'll fucking read this.
The same guy.
But, yeah. So
I remember seeing the advertisements in places and being like, that looks cool, just based on the ad.
Yeah.
But I never got it or anything.
Yeah, no, it looks good, and it comes with my friend Sequoia's recommendation. He works at a comic shop, so when he tells me something's good, I usually listen.
Yeah.
So let's see. My next one is one that you suggested, and you gave me issue 4. So then I found issues 1 through 3 of Car Warriors.
Hell yeah.
Which is another terrible name. But then, like we discussed it, at first, at a glance, you're like, Car Warriors, what an awful name. And then you're like, Car Warriors succinctly tells me everything that's going on in this book. So is it a bad name or is it the best name?
Yeah.
I don't fucking know.
It's very succinct.
Yeah. Because, I mean, Car Warriors, you know what's in this book now, for sure.
Yeah.
But this is one, like I said, you gave me issue 4. I read it, and you gave me a bunch of really good books to read, and for some reason I read the one that I thought looked the worst first.
That's usually how I would do it too.
I don't know if it was like, eating my broccoli before eating the good, like the good part of my meal or whatever the fuck it was. I was like, all right, let's get this Car Warriors out of the fucking way.
I don't know. When I first found it, I was just intrigued. Like, this has got to be. I mean, even without seeing that it was Dylan doing the art, I was like, the cover alone. I love Preacher so much. I was like, this reminds me of like a Mad Max Preacher, and I have no idea what's inside of this. Like, I got to read it right now. Well,
I loved it. Issue 4 was fucking great. So I'm excited to get in here.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, this is an amazing fucking cover. So I'm excited to get into these and read the lead up. So I already know the end, but I'm not. I'm in no way. I love this cover too. I'm in no way bummed because I'm excited to just read what the lead into Car Warriors is.
I can't remember who wrote it. Was it Chuck Dixon that wrote it?
Yeah, it was. I'm sure it was. Yep, writer Chuck Dixon.
Cool.
So yeah, these are fantastic, and I'm super glad that you pointed them out to me.
It's kind of a bummer that no one talks about it because it is so good, and it's just 4 issues, so it's like an easy thing to digest.
I shared the one you gave me on Instagram with a record, and like I think everyone commented on the record because it was the I did the Turbo Kid soundtrack, which is fucking fantastic movie, fantastic score. But one person definitely was like, Car Warriors fucking rules. And I was like, fuck yeah, Car Warriors does fucking rule. Dude, it's so good.
Next one I got was a James O'Barr book. And I think it's just like a North Star collection of stuff that he put out. But I'm just a big fan of... Did you ever read The Crow?
So I never read The Crow. Obviously, like everybody, I saw the movie, but I never read The Crow.
Did you know that? This is a side story, but did you know where Glenn's shop is in Wilmington? That's where they filmed him getting shot. Was like 2 blocks from there.
Wow.
Yeah, 'cause I was looking up some nerd shit one time when I was working there, and it was like, you can go to the building where Brandon Lee got fucking aced, and I was like, that's literally right over there. So I just walked over there on my break.
Well, I mean, a lot of movies were made, like Blue Velvet was made there, and the
apartment's still there.
At least one of the Turtles movies was made there.
The first one, the farmhouse is like outside of Wilmington, and Empire Records.
Oh, I didn't know that one.
A lot of Nickelodeon stuff's filmed there. They have a Nickelodeon Splat downtown.
That's awesome.
Yeah, a lot of cool.
Yeah, it was weird. For a moment, that was the spot. Like all the movies were being made.
Yeah, they gave a lot of tax breaks, and then they quit doing that. And then the whole HB2 law that made people not want to film here. I think that's what hindered it. Because they filmed Swamp Thing here in Wilmington.
Oh, that's right, they did. Yeah,
but that's also what fucking bombed Swamp Thing because they were guaranteeing them like however much money with tax breaks.
Right. And
then when they started filming, they're like, nah, we're not gonna do that anymore. And it like then there's like producer problems and stuff. What I heard. And then it all kind of went down the fucking window. And they like scrapped everything. Like Parliament trees, they're supposed to have like, do you know Swamp Thing that Parliament trees was like the other green entities and stuff? Mm-hmm. They were like actually made them, and then they cut their funding, so they just like threw everything away in the dumpster.
Damn.
Yeah, and now a lot of it's in the same junkyard in Wilmington. There's the Green Goblin truck thing from Maximum Overdrive.
Wow.
That same guy that owns the junkyard owns that and the Parliament of Trees.
Wow.
Isn't that
Holy
crazy?
Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he has that stuff
Yeah.
still. That's crazy.
They're supposed to be. They're doing like a movie exhibit. I heard they've been working on it for a while, but they're supposed to be redoing the Green Goblin Maximum Overdrive
that's
thing.
awesome.
Because it's just rotting right now.
Well, the History Museum here in Raleigh for a minute had an exhibit of props and stuff from the Wilmington,
Oh, really?
the period of time that movies were being made in Wilmington. So they had some turtle stuff there. I remember that, and they had some Blue Velvet stuff there, and I don't remember what else, but yeah, it was a number of years ago. But yeah, we had somebody brought a bunch of stuff up there for.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
exhibit.
Like there's I think it might be called the History Museum in Wilmington. It's like right near the Lynn Shop. I pass it all the time.
Yeah.
And it's right next to. It might be like 4 blocks from the Blue Velvet apartment building.
Yeah,
The one they
I've
filmed
definitely
outside of it.
gone there when I was in town.
Yeah,
and-
they have like a permanent display of Ninja Turtle stuff. They're
That's
just like I
awesome.
think it's just like the hand costumes and like
Yeah.
1 or 2 like animatronic masks or whatever. But it's still pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that's fucking cool.
And that stuff does not hold up well. It's like all deteriorated and stuff.
Yeah.
Like Texas just ate itself. But anyways, I got James O'Barr because I like how he uses skin tone. I read skin tone, the duotone dot shading and stuff.
Yeah.
And zipatone and stuff, like just from the 80s. And I got really into The Crow, and I watched a bunch of like interviews with him talking about why he made The Crow and like how his girlfriend at the time like passed away in a car accident and stuff. And it was just like, you're fucking crazy. So
Yeah.
like now I just buy anything by him.
I think you told me, didn't he wasn't a comic artist or something?
He was technically, yeah, but he just didn't read comics.
Oh, that's right. You said
Yeah,
he didn't
he just
read
doesn't-
comic.
I don't know if it's like on purpose or if it's just like something he was talking about in one of the interviews where he's like, I don't read comics. I don't want to like have my way of drawing swayed, which makes sense because I do that. If I read Sam Keith for 4 months, I'm gonna draw like Sam Keith.
Everything's
kinda.
going to start to look like Sam Keith.
Yeah, which is, I mean, people you can tell when people like read Kirby all the time because like they draw hands like this and
Right.
like everything's foreshortened oddly. But yeah, so he referenced Iggy Pop in a ton of shit, especially The Crow. Almost like every splash page that you can tell is like photo reference is from an Iggy Pop something, you know. So, but these are definitely more calmed down. But I don't think he was reading a lot of comics even at the very end of stuff, like especially during his North Star stuff. He might have read like some Tim Vigil because you can see like elements of like the cloth and things.
Yeah.
The way they're rendered, they're very Vigil-esque. But yeah, I just like that North Star kind of outlaw comic
Yeah.
scenario.
Yeah, that's another one, like wanting to read The Crow. And my son took an interest in wanting to see the movie.
Oh yeah,
That kind of, I was like, man, I never read those comics and I should. And
yeah. I just got a new, like the compendium.
Yeah.
My last one was in San Diego like a month ago.
yeah.
Some used bookstore had it for $5. I was like, I can read on
that's
the plane.
awesome.
And then like on the plane, I was like, man, I just look like a fucking goth kid. I'm the only person
Right.
in California wearing all black, reading the fucking
Reading The
Crow.
Crow. Holy shit. All right, my next pick is actually a gift to you.
Yeah.
It is the Luke Cage Marvel, the Max Comics version of it, where Sequoia had been trying to get me to read it, and I kind of put it off, and then he actually just like gave them to me. These are, so I still have the ones he gave me. But then I was like, well, he gave it to me, and I read it, and I fucking loved it. The thing that kind of kept steering me away from reading it was like, again, I like superhero books, and telling me Luke Cage actually did it and is kind of a bad guy, it doesn't really make me want to read it. But then when I did read it, it's fucking phenomenal. And it's definitely got like a Yojimbo vibe. Definitely, the artwork's fucking amazing, and yeah, I ended up really fucking loving it. So I'm glad Sequoia like pushed me to read this. If he hadn't given them to me, I probably wouldn't have. Like
Yeah.
he would have it would have been one of those things where he was like, "You should read this," and I'd be like, "Someday." Like, but I'm reading this fucking Iron Fist. But because he put them in my hands one morning, I just woke up and it was so good. I just read them all like with my coffee, like back to back. So it's 5 issues, and I mean, off the top, this is one of my. This sold me like immediately when I was like starting to read it. This, Luke Cage in the strip club looking at him, like looking at the stripper and himself in the mirror was just like the greatest fucking image. It's just so like super hard looking and beautifully drawn and just like a clever idea. Like, And then the lady comes to ask for his help, and he's like, stand over here next to me, because she's blocking his view. But anyway, yeah, this is super good. And I knew you were a Corbin fan, so these are for you.
Oh, thanks.
And I've got my copy still, but when they had all 5 issues, I was like, fuck this, I'll get this for you to read.
Yeah, I think
do the same thing Sequoia did for me for you.
Yeah, I have number 5, and I had never even read it. I just like got too involved with the Corbin's illustrations.
Yeah.
I always try it's impossible to do, but especially with him, because I try to like reverse engineer how he draws things, and it's like I fucking have no idea.
Right.
And I've even looked at his original ink drawing stuff, and I still have no idea how anything happens.
Right.
And so like I'm stoked to see this.
These are great, and you're gonna love
you.
them.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I think this is like one of the last ones I picked up, but not in the pile. But giant fan of the Hernandez brothers. I think you and I have talked about them before, but you've never read Love and Rockets?
I've never read Love and Rockets, and you definitely sold me on reading, and I just haven't.
Yeah, I think it's phenomenal. It's just one of those things where it's an undertaking to get into it. It's kind of like watching Twin Peaks for the first time. You're like, this is too much. I don't fucking care that much. You know?
Right.
And then you have like backstory and all this information. So you just kind of like gotta like pry your eyes open and get into it. But like each issue is half Jaime and half Gilbert, and usually their third brother Mario is involved too. Like I think this one he did this last story. Mario did, but usually half and half of Jaime and then Gilbert, and then they rotate who does the cover and then the back cover. And yeah, Gilbert did the back cover, I think, and then Jaime did the front cover. But it's just like it's really in depth because it's been going on since the 80s. And I think they're in like the 3rd volume now of Love and Rockets. And so it starts off with like a bunch of like punk kids and stuff, and then they get older, people die off, and then you can actually see characters growing and getting older because it's been going on for like 30 years. And the characters like develop.
I remember you telling me that like as they get older, they'll show you like like who's in the story so that you know, even though they've gotten older. Like
yeah, I don't think they did in this one because these are like the new volume, I think.
Yeah, but
usually definitely in the trade paperbacks they have like an index of like this is Luba and this is Hopi and stuff like that. And I mean it's like it's like a fucking labor of love to get through it because you're like, this is so many people, and you have to like kind of go back and remember who people are, their backstories, and it's all happens in like a couple of small towns, but then LA is involved eventually, and it's really, really good, like really well written, like perfectly drawn, and like the stuff changed too. Like the first Love and Rockets had like, you can tell they're trying to figure it out. They're also young kids, but the first one had like dinosaurs and robots, and like Hopi was a mechanic in the space realm and stuff. Like had more of a sci-fi feel to it, and so reading those, you're like, oh, this is sick. But like, how has this become? And they kind of just like teeter it out, and then it becomes just the normal like slice of life kind of
weird
comedy thing.
Yeah. But
the first 3, you can get them all the time. But they reprint the shit out of them.
Okay.
I think they're just called Mechanics, and it's just the first however many issues of her in space as a space mechanic.
It's funny too because I love the band Love and Rockets.
Yeah,
so there was like an extra reason that I always was curious about this.
I don't like them because every time I try to find Love and Rockets like merch, their shit pops up. I'm like, motherfuckers, I almost bought your shirt for the 10th time, and it's not fucking Gilbert Hernandez.
You should listen to those Love and Rockets was great though.
Is it good?
Yeah, I think you would.
Because it looks like rockabilly shit.
It's not.
Is it not?
No, if it was rockabilly shit, I wouldn't fucking listen to it.
That's why I'm surprised right now that we're having this conversation.
If it was rockabilly shit, I would be like, don't listen to it.
Doesn't that sound like a rockabilly name though?
I could see that.
It's a fucking goober in a parking lot.
I guess I think the reason I can't really see it is because I've loved Love and Rockets since I was a kid. Mm-hmm. So it's like what's, like a name becomes a thing. Like it's like ingrained in like so when I think of Love and Rockets, I think of Love and Rockets. So it's, but yeah, I could see that. Like it does feel it. But I'm telling you, you would actually, I know your musical taste a little bit. We were listening to music when you were tattooing me the other day. I got a feel for what you like, and you would like Love and Rockets.
I'll give it a shot. I'm just
there's no
hard
rockabilly
animosity.
Yeah. I know they've gotten in the way of some shirt hunting.
Yeah, dude.
But I'm telling you, it's really good. And there's zero rockabilly. If it was, I'd be like, this is terrible. I hate it.
For some reason, in my brain, I've convinced myself that it's rockabilly, and it probably just me being like,
you're just mad.
I'm trying to buy a shirt.
You're so mad that they've gotten in the way of your shirt buying
or comics
that you've made them the worst kind of music there is. You're like, you must be a rockabilly band because I hate you.
Yeah, they look like it though. They have like fucking I've seen like one picture and the guy's got a pompadour and like rockabilly.
No, they're definitely not.
But Remember when comic shops used to have like the open and close signs?
Yeah.
And they were like the hours of. I'm desperately trying to find the Love and Rockets one.
Oh, wow.
And it was like Hopi and Maggie running on the sign or whatever, like on the hour sign.
Yeah.
And I type in like Love and Rockets sign, and it's just like a bunch of the fucking band like posters and shit.
Right.
I gotta weed through 3,000 of these to find the one thing
The
that's
one
not
thing
even gonna
you're
be on
looking
here.
All right, well, give it a shot because it's definitely worth your time.
I'll listen to them.
All right, my next pick isn't really my pick because you found it.
I forced this on you hard.
You didn't force it on me hard, but you told me about it when we met for coffee recently, and I was like, that sounds good. And then you found it and put it in my hand, and so it went home with me.
Yeah, before you even got there.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's right. I hadn't even walked in the building, and you're like, here you go. But Pinhead versus martial law, Law and Hell. This is fucking crazy. And I'm so glad that you steered me in this. I mean, that alone, look, that's reason to read it. And this is issue 2, so I got to go find issue 1. But yeah, I'm just fucking super thrilled with this. It looks fucking scary. The way Pinhead is drawn is really fucking cool.
It's kind of exaggerated.
Yeah.
But I guess it's O'Neill's style.
Yeah. So this is something I was super not familiar with, but your recommendation on this was, and then actually getting to look at it, it was a no-brainer. So get out there and find issue 1 so I can actually enjoy this in full. But so it's not my pick, but again, this is why I wanted to go comic shopping with you, though, because it would inspire me to pick things that I wouldn't pick, or you would just fucking pick them for me.
I actually found that when I was looking for Herbie.
Where
It was like behind Herbie.
it was behind.
That's how crazy that place was. I was like, Herbie. Oh, there's that Pinhead book that I was looking for.
I go there all the time, like looking for things, and then find not what I was looking for, but 10 things I wasn't.
Yeah.
Like,
I was telling someone how I was trying to find. I was like looking for the L's, and it was like in that corner, but then like it circulated back around to the side or something.
Right. And then there's just piles of comics where you're like,
I
this
would love
is
to look
in
through
no
this.
discernible fucking, I don't know what this. And then you flip through it, and it's like, Hulk to X-Men without breaking a sweat.
Yeah, and there was that one box when we were leaving. There was all Gundam, but it wasn't any kind of G area.
Yeah, there's just hidden away. Yeah. I didn't know you grabbed this.
Grimjack?
Yeah, this is awesome and advertised in the
Do you like Grimjack?
Dynamo Joe. So I've never read it, but
neither.
I flipped through it because it was on First, which is who did Dynamo Joe. So yeah, I'm super interested in this.
I've got a crap ton of these, and I think I got them from some like comic lot that I bought on eBay or something.
Yeah.
And I haven't read any of them. And the only reason I wanted this one is because someone on, like, I posted something about Ninja Turtles, and someone's like, if you like this, you should buy Grimjack, because in the back, the B stories are Eastman and Laird turtles, but they're colorized.
Oh, wow.
And so this one has Ninja Turtles in a bar, and it's just like a little like mini story. So I haven't even read any Grimjack. I mean, it looks pretty sick, but I don't probably won't get into it. But this, like, I mean, that actually is pretty cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say that looks fucking badass. Yeah, look at that. And
I should probably give it a shot.
You flip by, it wasn't that one. Yeah, this. Holy shit! I want to read this.
And this is issue 26, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's already got some like.
So I remember seeing ads for this book, and I remember flipping through it, but I never collected it or read it. Like, but I'm super interested now that.
Yeah, I honestly don't even know who like illustrated it. But the back is like a reprint.
Oh, wow.
Eastman and Laird.
Fuck yeah.
Like original comic, just colorized. And it's just like they go into a bar and then they get in a fight. It's like back when they were all red bandanas. And
Yeah.
stuff, like, before like the cartoon or whatever. But they get in a fight and then it's like one of those things where something happens and you gotta escalate it, so you just like make one of them bigger.
Right.
There's a big guy the big alien trying to fight him, so he becomes bigger and then they get bigger and then they just like knock down the bar. It's just a really fun, like, pretty easy read. But I'm a big fan of the way Eastman draws and Laird and the old, because during quarantine I just got into really deep dive into Turtles and Akira. Yeah. Which is
good things to deep dive in.
Yeah, but they're pretty distant, but they both did like duotone and shading and stuff. But I've been reading a bunch of that stuff lately, but it's really good. So I want to go through my old other Grimjacks, see what else is next. I know Bissett and Veach and like Eric Talbot and Dave Moody and those kind of dudes did inking and stuff, because like, are you familiar with Bissett other than the Tyrant stuff?
Mm-mm.
He does a lot of stuff with the duotone and like the the chemicals where he would like whitewash over them and stuff to do like negative space and like cut out some of the dots and shit. So a lot of the turtle stuff, he would come over because they were all in Vermont, New Hampshire, New England area, and so he would go to like Eastman's house and then like do duotone chemical processing and then like show them how to like manipulate even more and like put like like deeper darks and then like cut like highlights into them. And even because like this piece over here reminded me of it because he would do that a lot where he would like get like deleter ink or whatever and like put it on top of it and so you can see a lot of it in this old stuff where like Bassette's not even like noted as helping out, but it's like clearly Bassette did that, you know,
right.
Which is pretty cool. I just like his work a lot with like Swamp Thing.
I'm gonna move my head and you can point at it again. The piece you're talking about is by our friend Putrid.
Oh, he did that? Cool.
Yeah, and he's a fucking animal. I mean, he's a wild animal. I mean, everything he does is like that. It's so crazy. So he did the Holy Mountain one next to it, which is also fucking crazy. Mm-hmm. Like the dude's just out of his mind. And
yeah, I like his stuff a lot.
Yeah, did you get to come when his shit was hanging here?
I don't think so. I don't think I was in town.
Dude, so we had an entire couple of walls of all his like it was crazy. Like Olivia hung it and
is it all close to that size or is it all bigger?
Some of it's bigger, most of it's around that size, but it's just like fucking dense where you can see where he's just like everything is textured because he's like building. He like goes back in and fucking, you know, all of a sudden there's more white and then there's more black and like now it's glumped up and just like yeah, when you look at these things like in real life, they're fucking crazy.
I mean it looks just like a Bassette but like way more attention to detail because Bassette stuff is like way looser and like he'll like his underpainting Bassette would just be like that's done.
I would actually love to have Putrid on at some point. We had him down for the show and he is a fucking madman. He's fucking like absolutely crazy. Tons of fun and a super talented guy. I guess if anyone's listening, you know, just look up Putrid art. I don't remember
it's like
what
Putrid Gore, right?
Putrid Gore, yeah. The dude's fucking phenomenal and worth everyone's time. So my next one is again trying to pick things that were outside of my comfort zone or exactly what I would read. But maybe not that terribly far, was this book called Black and White, and I just stumbled upon it in a random box marked manga. And it was filled with all kinds of stuff that looked about as interesting to me as unbuttered toast. Except this. Like this fucking, I immediately, just these covers, like completely fucking grabbed me. Especially this one. Just super fucking cool looking stuff. And I had you're not supposed to be in there. Had all the issues but one, so I'm gonna track that down. But yeah, I mean the interiors are really wonderful. And yeah, there's just like super cool looking book and super abstracted, you know, characters are all very abstract and weird, and the way they're illustrated, like their form and their body, everything's crazy. So I was super excited when I found this one. And the only other time I found anything in those boxes is one other time I went through there with Joel. I think it was David Moses was with me, and I just decided I was going through every box. Mm-hmm. I pulled out every manga box, which is like 15 of them, and I just went, and there was like nothing upon nothing upon nothing. And then I found an entire run, and the name is escaping me right now, but I found an entire run of the Samurai comic in there. Yeah. And it was like originally, I guess it was Korean, and then they reissued it, and they redid it in English so that, you know, like I could read it. But it was fucking phenomenal. So there were, even in those boxes of what I would deem literal garbage, was some fucking gold.
I actually saw those in there. I was looking for Akira, and I was like, well, maybe they're on this book. It was like the box next to the Akira, where the Akiras used to be. And I saw those, like, those look like, because they look like David Lapham art. You ever look at Dave Lapham's book? He did a book called Stray Bullets, which I'm a giant fan of Stray Bullets ever since it. Actually, that might be one of my first like indie books I ever found as a kid. But I'm a big fan of David Lapham's work, and I was like, oh, that kind of looks like a David Lapham like manga or something. That's fucking weird. And I was like, I should get these, and then for some reason I put them back. And then
I went and got
leave them. You had them like, oh, cool. At least somebody got them. Yeah. And I'm just sitting there rotting.
Yeah, no, they look phenomenal.
But you're right. Everything else in those boxes were just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I mean, I also don't know what it is. Because some of it might be a good story.
Some of it might. Yeah, I guess it's unfair. It looks like something I would not be interested by, and that's. The same, like that world, there's just like so much stuff that's just like utter garbage, but then mixed in there's like stuff like this where you're like, wow, that looks fucking amazing. So.
It's all just like pastel covers and shit. And
I'm not interested. Yeah, we're probably fucking assholes right now.
Totally.
Yeah, I'm sure that people are like, you're a fucking dick. I love all that stuff.
I love pastel
you
covers.
dumb fucks. He's reading Iron Fist and you're reading The Crow. You fucking.
What are you from '98?
Yeah. Like you two suck.
What's your time machine, idiot? Actually, you know what? This goes right back to what we're talking about because this is old as fuck, dude. I think this actually might be fucking like 90s something. I guess I just like the 90s.
I do too. So Olivia that wrote for the magazine and is going to interview you for the coming issue of the magazine, and you know her, you're friends. Mm-hmm. I was loaning her movies when she worked here, and I loaned her like I think by the 5th movie. I was like, okay. She gave me a movie back, and I always bring her a new one, and she was like, no more movies from the 90s. You got anything from any other period of it? Because I just kept that. But I love the 90s. There was a lot of good shit.
So good. Like,
comics, movies, everything. There was a lot of good shit really going on in the 90s.
Music was good in the 90s.
So I think I brought her, the next thing I brought her, it was like not the 90s by like a year. I was like, here you go. It was like, I forget what it was. But I remember being like, it's 1 year out of the 90s.
Well, one of the last things I picked up was Max Immortal by Rick Veitch, also affiliated with Ninja Turtles and Tundra. Actually, Tundra put that out.
Okay.
And King Hell is his personal like self-published. So he's still making books. Yeah. He was actually deemed comic laureate of Vermont last year during quarantine, which is pretty cool. They had like a YouTube thing. He's really smart. I love everything he does. A lot of people don't like his illustrations for some reason, but I think it's amazing. That looks
incredible.
And he does crazy shit. Like when he did Swamp Thing. He was doing stuff on the panels where he was like melting crayons and shit and like smearing them around so it had like actual texture, and they had like photostat it because they don't even do photostat anymore, but they had to like take it somewhere in like fucking Manhattan to get it photostated to use for, and then send it to Alan Moore to because he was doing all this crazy mixed media shit, and he's like, what are you doing? And he's like, I don't fucking know. But he was also like writing it after Alan Moore bailed. He wrote Swamp Thing.
Okay.
And then he made this thing that DC actually banned. Because it was like Swamp Thing, goes to the green and shit. And after a while, he was making this like time-space continuum timeline storyline.
Yeah.
Where Swamp Thing was going through like old plant life. So he ended up, there's one issue where he was the wood that was used to make the crucifix that hung Jesus.
Oh, wow.
And the cover was that he painted. You can only see like a pencil drawing because he didn't like, I'm sure he's got it, I'm sure.
Right.
But the only thing that surfaced was his like thing, and it was a crucifix of wood, but it's like Swamp Thing's face is like made into it.
Oh my god!
And DC's like, fucking never gonna work here again.
Yeah, too far.
But then he's had like a great career making his own stuff, and Max Immortal's a really good. I think it's 7 issues. So I found the last like few that I needed at the Foundation's Edge, which is awesome because it's really good, and it's kind of like commentary to Superman. So it's like alien crashes, superhero ability, but it's like if he wasn't supposed to do good and he was just like a fucking dickhead, and it's not even like a bad guy. He's like,
you were telling me about
shithead.
this. Yeah.
And so he's a kid and he has like super strength, and he like climbs on his dad's back and just pummels him until he's like a bloody pulp, and just makes him like takes him hostage and makes him like walk around and do all this stuff.
Oh, God.
And then he like rips people's heads off because his dad's a farmer, so he only knows a farmer. He's like 4, but he's like a jacked little kid, and he rips people's heads off and throws them in a grain silo and calls himself a farmer. Like, it's fucked up. It's so good though. I think he did everything, if I'm not mistaken. I think he did like the coloring and stuff. And there's like side stories that kind of go along with it, where there's like these 2 guys that are trying to make
a comic.
Awesome. And he's like, they're making this comic,
but
looks great. It's like a commentary for like how him and Bassett got fucked over by DC and other people that like the main 2.
Yeah.
Because they just wash everybody, like they're just like shitty to all their artists and stuff. And it's kind of commentary for Kirby too, because they were kind of coming into that and like trying to get Kirby his work back from the main 2 and stuff. But it's just it's just really good. A lot of people don't like the way that he draws, but I think it's perfect. And he's got a new one called Kid Max Immortal. I haven't read that. It's like he's like printing it through Amazon, like a print on demand kind of a thing.
Huh.
Kind of interesting, but I haven't picked it up yet.
No, when you told me about this, it sounded awesome. It looks cool.
I think these are the reprints. 'Cause I think the first prints are the foil lettering. But yeah, it's pretty intense. He's a really prolific artist. And I picked up this book the other day that had Bissett and Totalbin in it. And then because they usually team up, and Bissett's like apparently notorious for being real slack on work ability, and he's just like he'll do 1 page a month, but Rick will do 2 pages a day, kind of a thing.
Right.
So like he always needs someone to help him out and like, kind of wrangle him in, and Rick will just do an entire story by himself. I heard that's why they had problems in the Swamp Thing era too, because they were always like he was like trying to get Bissett to like work harder and harder, and he's like, no man, like let's fucking get high. I mean that cover is so sick.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And that's the kid.
Jesus Christ.
But yeah, really good.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that one and it being interesting. We discussed how it was similar to the Brightburn. Movie.
Did you watch that?
I liked it.
Yeah,
I thought
it was
really
too.
good. It was
I haven't seen
up.
it. I haven't heard anyone talk about that since I saw it, but it was good.
Yeah, it was super good. Definitely some real gnarly gore in that too. The whole truck scene was really fucked up.
And didn't he like burn his dad's eyeballs out with his eyes? Didn't he like hold his head or something like that?
Yeah,
Just, like,
I believe that's correct. I can't remember. It's been a minute since I've seen it. The only part that really stuck with me is the whole the truck scene where he like raises the truck up and drops it, and the fucking level of gore and that dude being annihilated in that truck is scene. Fucked up. Yeah. So that was really good. Well, the last thing I brought is another one that you put in my hand.
We actually might as well just
do this together. Yeah.
Because I got the rest of them, or not all of them, but
so there they are. But I believe you put that issue in my hand and told me it was this crazy fight with all these people in a parking deck, which it absolutely does take place in a parking deck. And it's fucking beautiful. It looks magnificent.
So
and yeah, I mean, like, look at this Terminator looking head over here. And yeah, I mean, this is another one I remember being like, I mean, look at these.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for sure, I'm trying to get this in there good, but you know, I mean, this alone, I was like, fuck yeah, I want to read that. And then I was like, give me the rest of those. And you were like, no, I'm getting them. And I was like, that's fair because I took the Car Warriors.
Yeah, I just wanted you to like get one and be like, not hate it and then have a stack of them.
Right. So, yeah, this is one I remember you telling me about it when we had coffee recently, and then put one in my hand, and it looks fucking phenomenal. So.
Yeah, I guess like when I was reading these, because I was wondering why like this one has like the black flag bars on it, and then these have like the main phases, and it's kind of like reminiscent of Ninja Turtles too, because Ninja Turtles would have like origin story, and then they would go and do like mini single shot episodes or issues where it was like each turtle or whatever. This is similar, so it's like this is like a story and kind of introduces it to everybody, and then these are individual like origins kind of, but they still cross over,
right? Which
is fucking smart. So like this is the first issue, and then the next 5 are each person. It's kind of like, I mean, this is 90s, I think, so like they really hit on every single sick thing in the 90s, like robots, punkers, wizards and space shit and sci-fi, and like they just smash it all together based on the grid. So they're warlocks that can go through time and space grid, but there's 5 different, I don't know, we would call it like main goobers of like the fucking grid, and so they kind of come up in their own each other's cross hatchings. It's pretty sick. I mean, like it's super smart.
Yeah, I as soon as I opened this one up, because you gave it to me and I opened it up, and I mean, even just the very first page is just like unreal.
And that guy does the covers too, which is pretty intense.
All these covers are awesome. Like, yeah, for sure. I'm excited to read this.
They actually made that in I wanted to like deep dive with it the other day, and they re-released it in a hardback compendium of all all of his, because I think there's 2 different volumes, and one looks like that super whack manga that we were talking about. And it looks like that, so avoid that shit because it sucks.
Okay.
But then this guy did volume 2, and I think he goes to 22 issues, and he did the first 13, and they collected all of his, so all 13 issues are in this thing with like the extra material and stuff in it. But it's only $40 through some indie printer. But
yeah, I'll probably end up getting that as opposed to trying to track all these down, because you just cleaned out Foundation's Edge on me.
Of the good stuff. There's a bunch of the fucking Dookie fucking comics in there.
Yeah, like I'm not trying to get those. Yeah,
God, they look terrible.
We should go back into Foundation's Edge and move those issues over to the shitty manga boxes. That way we might help somebody out.
Yeah, they might be pumped on it.
So they might get in there and they're like, I love all this shitty manga, and then they'll pull that
And then they'll go to this.
Yeah,
It'll be like a
like,
gateway.
Yeah.
And
then we'll get them out. We'll like we're reaching in and helping them. We're gonna pull you through. Don't you worry.
Like, you're looking for Akira. You go to Warlock 5, the shitty version. You find the cool version.
Holy shit. Well, thanks for doing this. This was a ton of fucking fun. That was
Super
great.
fun.
And thanks for again. I took this as an opportunity to pick things I wouldn't, with the exception of Spider-Man. I tried to pick things I wouldn't normally read, or just take things you put directly in my hand. So yeah,
Personal shopper.
Yeah. He's available if you need. You know,
low rates,
tattoos. You know, album covers. Personal comic shopper. We can throw that out there.
Judgy dickhead. I think is what they call me.
Judgy dickhead. What is it? Scotty
Muldoon.
Scotty Muldoon,
Dude,
Judgy
Muldoon.
Dickhead at large. I don't know. I think we established that Scotty Muldoon is a pretty nice guy.
He would probably be like, those manga are cool, man.
Yeah, we'll have to give you a new name for Judgy Dickhead. I don't know what, or maybe that's just the name.
Just do like Bizarro Scotty Muldoon. Just do Scotty Muldoon
Scotty
backwards.
Muldoon. And then bad Scotty Muldoon, who'll pick your comics for you and
Shitty
judge your
Muldoon.
shitty taste.
Scotty and Shitty Muldoon.
Shitty Muldoon. Holy shit. Well, again, thanks a lot. This was a ton of fucking fun.
Super fun.
You can kill this now, Joel. It's over.